Good morning, everyone, and we're excited to welcome you to Volunteer New York's Civic Minded Martin Luther King Day Interactive Webinar. We're happy you are here, and we want to just remind you that it's an interactive webinar, and you may want to have your phone nearby for the interactive part. If you have not already done so, please put your full name in your profile. And just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded. For the majority of the presentation, all participants will be muted. My name is Carrie Nagel, and I'm joined by Abby First. We are on the corporate partnership team at Volunteer New York, which is led by Jennifer Machuca, who's working behind the scenes, and Katie Pfeiffer, who's our Senior Director of Programs and Events. We are joined today also by a handful of colleagues and board members. I want to extend a special welcome to our Senior Director of Development, Dylan Pine, and our new Interim Executive Director, Suzanne Tillman. Thank you for joining us. We also have a number of groups and teams that have signed up. So thank you for everyone that's joined and everyone that invited colleagues and friends and family members to join with them as well. And I want to take an extra moment to recognize some of the elected officials who may have already joined or may be joining us this morning. We're fortunate to have such an engaged and accessible elected officials within our delegation, all who embody the importance of civic engagement as they engage in our community. This morning, I see that we have Dana Levenberg, who has joined us, and Westchester Board of Elections, Dejan Nelson. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to welcome all of you to Volunteer New York's Martin Luther King Day Civic Minded Interactive Webinar. Before we begin, I just want to put a special thank you to our corporate champions whose partnership enables us to advance our mission of mobilizing our community to address its greatest challenges through volunteerism and civic engagement with events like today's and many others throughout the year.
This year, Volunteer New York is celebrating our 75th birthday. In 2024, Volunteer New York inspired 35,000 volunteers annually, mobilized 457,000 hours of service to the community, and supported over 300 nonprofit organizations. As Carrie shared, our mission is to mobilize our community to address its greatest challenges. And our vision is that our community is vibrant, resilient, and equitable. We at Volunteer New York like to say that we are a connector organization to help individuals find volunteer opportunities that match their interests and nonprofits to find volunteers that match their needs. Since 2011, Volunteer New York has hosted the MLK Day of Service to give people in Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam counties the opportunity to come together in service in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The projects and format have changed over the years, but the goal has remained the same. We're excited to come together today to discuss Dr. King's message and how we can each take action to create a just community. Now we're going to go on and explain the interactive element to this webinar. So today we'll be using Mentimeter. This is an online presentation building tool that facilitates audience engagement. The tool allows us presenters to include polls, multiple choice, and open-ended questions that you, the audience, can interact with live. As with any technology, we may have issues, so please bear with us if we face any technical issues. So please take out your phone. You can also use another browser on your computer, but we encourage you to use a phone so you don't have to toggle back and forth. And if there are multiple people in your household watching this, you can all use your own device or share one device. You're going to go scan the QR code to go to menti.com and enter that code. And once you're logged in, you'll be connected to the questions and polls within the presentation. All the responses will be anonymous, so we encourage you to be open and honest throughout, and there are never any wrong answers. I'll give you a few moments. And if your phone ever falls out of sync with the slides, you can just click on the top of go to next slide or go to current slide. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind.
Yep, and if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Our colleague, Jennifer Machuca, will be helping to address any issues. So again, during the presentation, Mentimeter may fall out of sync with the presentation, so you'll see a message on your phone and just click Go to Slide to sync it back up. Y'all ready to try it? Okay. So this next slide, what words come to mind when you think of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? And you'll see, just type in a word on your phone and they'll pop up. And the more times someone says the same word, the word will become bigger and take up more space. There's word clouds. We're seeing peace, justice, passionate, I have a dream, impactful, civic leader. Wow, great job. You know, you're at the right place. So justice, a lot of people must be putting justice and peace as those are much bigger than others. And these are great. This would make a really great photo, seeing kind of all these ideas and words come to mind. So as many of you have shared, the legacy of Dr. King has been shaped by the years since he was assassinated. And keep throwing in words as you think of them. We think of Dr. King as a civil rights leader who used nonviolence to create change. Much of what we are taught focuses on color blindness and his I Have a Dream speech. But Dr. King was an important figure in the civil rights movement, but by no means was the only leader. His beliefs and legacy are so much more than one speech. Dr. King was revolutionary, calling for economic and racial justice, pushing against the status quo, and calling out those who upheld it, either through action or silence. He was not one to sit and wait for the status quo to change. He sought to create change and inspire others to work for justice. And I said the word justice a lot, and you folks also thought of the word justice a lot, as we see that word's pretty big on the screen. Next slide. Two consistent messages appear through many speeches over his many years as a leader. One, the idea that we cannot sit idly by and wait for progress to happen. Action is needed. People need to demand justice and work towards it. And second, silence and upholding the status quo is just as harmful as bad actors. Please take a moment to read the quote on the screen from his sermon, The Drug Major Instinct. Dr. King calls that everybody can serve, which is something we at Volunteer New York believe in as well. We need to be the do-gooders towards justice, not just those upholding the status quo. And that's why we're all here today, to learn how each of us can take action to create change.
As Abby just shared, Martin Luther King believed in the power of serving, and so does Volunteer New York and our hundreds of affiliate organizations across the globe. Volunteer New York is part of Points of Light. Points of Light is a global organization that works to create a global culture of civic engagement. And Points of Light created the Civic Circle, which is the tool we'll use today and you can use in the future to think about various ways you can help support a cause you care about. Over the last 3 years, Points of Light has been studying what it means to bring the Civic Circle to life. In other words, how are people making a difference? Why are they choosing to do so? and what challenges are they facing? In 2020, Points of Light found that 3 in 10 adults did not volunteer in the past year, but were interested in doing so. When questioned further, 66% of those surveyed did not believe that they were able to make an impact in their community. 40% didn't know what to do to be helpful, and 44% weren't sure how to get involved. If any of this resonates with you and your experience when you think about what it means to do good, our hope is that this conversation will help guide you towards actionable steps that you can take. And we'll show you how you can use our website to impact our community. I know we have some people joining today from outside Westchester, Putnam, or Rockland counties, which is the area within which Volunteer New York serves. But you can look for similar organizations in your areas on the Points of Light website. We'll share a link to the global network of affiliates in the chat, and then you can find your local affiliate. So what is civic engagement? Civic engagement is a very broad term. It describes the actions that people take to address the needs of their community, society, or social groups. It can include political and non-political activities and can be done by individuals or by groups. We take civic action when we take action around the issues and causes we care about. You're all taking civic action by being here today. Something as simple as bringing food to a sick neighbor is civic engagement. As we think about the types of actions that drive civic engagement, what comes to mind for you? And this is a time to use the Mentimeter if you want to put in forms of actions that come to mind when you think about civic engagement. And I'll give you a moment to respond. Bringing food to a neighbor. Helping when there are disasters. Protesting. Helping those in need. Writing to your congressperson. Volunteering. Getting involved in clubs and groups you belong to. Driving seniors to appointments, food pantry. More for volunteering. These are wonderful. Working in a soup kitchen. Working with education groups, coaching. There are so many different ways. As you see this, the Mentimeter keeps listing because people have so many different ways to get involved civically. Fostering and creating community in ways that align with your skills and ability. It's fantastic. Spreading word of good. Really important, especially these days. So these are some great ideas. And I'd love to know from you if you've acted on any of these ideas in the last 6 months, large or small. The question is a yes or no question. And we want to know, have you taken action in the last 6 months? It's okay to say no. There are people that haven't figured out how to take action or haven't realized that their actions are worthwhile.
I love to see so much blue here. That's great.
Welcoming immigrants. That's a wonderful one. I see that in the chat. As I see that some of you, most of you have said, yes, you have taken civic action, but you may realize as we continue this discussion that you've taken even more than you are thinking about right now. Points of Light created the Civic Circle to help represent a person's power to lead, lend support, and take action for causes they care about. It helps individuals connect to opportunities and understand that doing good comes in many forms. And no matter someone's age, race, religion, people can take action through one or several elements of the civic circle. We mentioned a few minutes ago that recent research revealed that many people don't know how to get started when it comes to taking civic action and aren't sure they can make a difference. It's through the civic circle that we believe people can find a stepping stone to taking action. Within each circle, civic actions can be formal or informal in nature. Formal actions are typically through existing structures and institutions. Some examples of formal civic actions are volunteering for a day of service through a nonprofit organization, donating to a canned food drive through your place of work, or voting during an election. Examples of informal civic action are cooking meals for a sick neighbor, collecting clothing for colleagues and household items for coworkers who may have lost their home in a fire, or having a conversation with a friend about a cause you're supporting. Often informal actions are ones we don't consider to be taking civic action, but they can have the same level of significance as formal actions. In fact, Points of Light conducted research in the US, the UK, and Brazil, and found that the leading civic actions around the world were the less formal forms of civic action: listening and learning, and voice. There's no one-size-fits-all to civic engagement.
Thanks, Gary. And I'm seeing in the chat, there are some questions about Mentimeter. The next few slides, we're not using Mentimeter, but once we go back to it in a few slides, the code will be at the top. So don't be concerned that you're not synced up for right now. So as Carrie shared, we're going to be going over the civic circle, and we'll go through each element and what they each represent. We're going to begin with listening and learning, because this is the foundation for any civic action you take. The more informed you are, the better decisions you can make about how to best support your community and the issues and causes you care about. When we act without listening and learning, we are unintentionally causing harm. So it's very important to listen to the experts and those with lived experiences, to research a topic through credible sources to minimize the spread of misinformation, and so much more.
What we mean by volunteer and service. Volunteer, sharing your time and talent to advance a cause or support resolution for a societal issue without personal gain. From a one-time activity to pro bono service, volunteerism takes many shapes and forms. This can include mowing the lawn of an elderly neighbor or sitting on the board of a nonprofit. Some of you joining today have joined us in the past for our 9/11 Serve and Remember community-wide day of service. And today also is another example of volunteerism. Excuse me. We typically think of service as being synonymous with volunteerism, but we define service as committing time, energy, and talent in support of the greater public good. This includes national service like AmeriCorps, military service, local fire and law enforcement, and those in public office. I do see that Senator Shelley Mayer has joined us. That's a great form of service, her work. This includes serving at the state and national level and in your local government on a board or advisory panel. Serving on jury duty is also something that would fall under service.
Carrie knows a lot about that because she was called in last week. Donate. Donate is sharing personal resources to advance a cause. This can be financial through the donation of goods and services, mutual aid, and even medical donations like blood. You can honor January's National Blood Donor Month by donating to a local blood drive. And purchase power. Purchase power is making spending decisions that reflect your values or advance a cause you care about. We see this when we shop small or support minority-owned businesses. A great way to support these two civic circles is to visit Hudson Valley Books for Humanity in Ossining on Monday morning or Monday throughout the day. This is a bookstore with new and secondhand books. They are hosting a blood drive on Monday, so you can donate blood and/or a used book and buy books from a local shop that is focused on their social and environmental impacts. The store is also a great example of social entrepreneur, which Carrie will talk about in this next slide.
Social entrepreneur is someone that identifies a need that has not been met by traditional institutions, structures, and systems. And by using their entrepreneurial spirit, they drive change. Social entrepreneurs bring innovative solutions to tackle problems. Bombas Socks is an example of a company that was founded with social responsibility as their primary focus. For every pair of socks purchased, Bombas will donate a pair. Many of those pairs are donated here in Westchester to some of our nonprofit partners, such as the Sharing Shelf and others. Work. While some may go to a specific field, like becoming a teacher because they're passionate about education, others may value working for an employer that provides opportunities to meaningfully support their communities. It's worthwhile to see if your employer supports company volunteering in your community. Most employees are unaware of all the ways in which their corporations they work for support volunteerism. At the start of the year, it's a great time to review these with the companies you work for and see the ways that you can give back through the corporations you work with. Most people think about donation matching when they think about corporations supporting volunteerism, but additional examples are volunteer time off, personal financial perks. Some companies will give you dollars for yourself to spend, or gift cards, or they will donate to the nonprofit that you volunteer with. So this is a great time of year to just refresh yourself on all of the ways you can support organizations through the corporations you work for.
And the final two civic circles from Point to Light Civic Circle is voice and vote. Voice is influencing your network to raise awareness, promote, protest, advocate, or advance a cause or social issue. We see the use of voice in art, music, on social media, and even around the dinner table with family and friends. This past November, Proposition 1, or the Equal Rights Amendment, was passed in New York. The New York State Constitution now includes protections against discrimination based on race, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, creed, religion, or sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, and reproductive health care and autonomy. This will ideally help people feel more comfortable to use their voice without fear of retaliation. Also, the passing of this proposition demonstrated the use of voice as a large coalition of individuals and organizations worked to get this ERA passed. And lastly, vote. Voting is engaging in the political process. This can be from participating in elections to supporting efforts that increase engagement in these elections. It's more than the act of voting itself and can include becoming a poll worker or supporting a candidate. And remember, all elections matter, including our small local ones. In November, tens of millions did not vote. It's important to vote since even change in national leadership creates both national and local changes in funding and resources. Over the past 2 weeks, our office at Volunteer New York has been discussing the LA wildfires, and we've been noticing that it has demonstrated the civic circle. We're seeing people volunteer and donate both money and supplies, which, by the way, I've been hearing they have enough supplies, and right now it's more important to donate financially. I'm seeing a lot of information on my social media in general about the wildfires, and also information from local nonprofits and news sources that are sharing information and demonstrating listening and learning about the cause and the impacts. There are also firefighters working who are serving. This whole issue is bringing many civic circles to life.
So let's take a moment and reflect by revisiting the question we posed earlier about the civic actions you've taken in the last 6 months. Knowing what we've just discussed about the civic circle, has your answer about taking action changed? I know a lot of you already thought that you were taking action, but was there something now that you think of that is taking action that you hadn't thought about before? Have you done more than you realized?
And feel free to share actions that you didn't realize were civic actions. For example, maybe you didn't realize how using your voice on social media counts.
And I see lots of yeses. I'm glad that you're recognizing all of the good things that you do and all of the ways that you're making an impact. Working to engage people on social media. I'm sure that's something that people hadn't thought of before as civic engagement, but it is. Being here today, donating to the wildfire fund. You know, back to points of light to just remind all of you when there's a natural disaster and people are looking for places to donate and are unclear if they're making good choices, you can look to some of our points of light affiliates in the areas where a natural disaster is, and that might be a great place to start since they are on the ground. So for instance, I went on to LA Works, which is one of our affiliates, last week to see what they were looking for and how they were suggesting giving back. Helping staff a table at a holiday event, promoting social and environmental causes. Offering reduced rates for my services for families in need. These are some great ideas, and thank you for sharing them with us.
Bringing it all together, why should you care? You might be thinking these are not new concepts. We did not invent voting or donating, and that's true, we did not. But when we think about the challenges in the world today, challenges that have largely existed for long periods of time and seem to be getting worse, we need to reconsider how we tackle these challenges. For most of our challenges, if our governments, nonprofits, or companies acted alone, we would not see sustained change. But when these entities come together and cross sectors, we start to see change happen. The same is true for individual civic action. We need the power of individual people to impact change. But that power cannot be one-dimensional. It is through the combination of civic actions that change becomes not only more impactful, but also that change happens more quickly. So while the world does not need us to create new forms of engagement, people do need a more expansive understanding of what they, the individual, can do to accelerate change. Now I'm going to apply the civic circle to the specific issue of food insecurity. Food insecurity is an issue that impacts people around the world. It's an issue that Dr. King was very passionate about. He stated, "I have the audacity to believe that people everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education, and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits." Feeding America defines food insecurity as a lack of consistent access to enough food for every person in a household to live an active, healthy life. And it's more than having sufficient access to any food. It's about having access to quality, nutritious food. For example, a family may rely on fast food or processed food because they cannot afford to buy fresh produce. The causes of food insecurity and hunger are more than we can cover today and vary based on where you are in the world. But a few causes include poverty, unemployment, or low income, environmental factors such as drought, systematic racism and racial discrimination. And you can see others on the screen. And just to underscore the global scale of this issue, the World Food Program states that across the globe, as many as 343 million people are facing acute levels of food insecurity. 47 million of those are in the US. And as we can see, this is a very complex issue that impacts a large number of people. And whenever there is change in leadership in our country, we usually see changes in how food security will be managed, how the 2 million farms across the US will be supported, and additionally, how global food security policies will be promoted. Now we're going to talk even locally. Locally, Feeding Westchester states that 1 in 3 people in Westchester are facing food insecurity. Feeding Westchester and their 300 partners served 229,000 people each month last year. That was an additional 9,000 per month from 2023. That's 9,000 per month from 2023. Local food pantries at schools, religious institutions, youth programs, community centers, and other nonprofits distributed 80% of this food. These organizations are found in every community in Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam counties because hunger is present in every community in Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam counties. As we can see, this is an issue that's very complex and impacts a large number of people. Here at Volunteer New York, over 15% of our nonprofit partners work to eliminate food insecurity in our communities. In the 2024 calendar year, we helped to fill 1,600 hunger-related volunteer slots. And now we're going to look at the Civic Circle, and we're going to go into breakout rooms to discuss what actions can be taken to reduce food insecurity. We'll break you into small groups and discuss for a couple minutes about what actions can be taken to reduce food insecurity.
Okay, we're waiting for a few more to get back in. So as I said, if there was anything that stood out in your smaller group discussions that you want to share, would love to see some of those comments in the chat. Abby's saying that lots of people talked about the volunteer work people have done over the years fighting food insecurity. I know I heard a mention of Stu Leonard's doing a great job around Thanksgiving and giving back. And Dana Levenberg shared that the universal school meals, which Governor Hochul mentioned in her State of the State, let your assembly members and senators know that you support this as well. Dana, if you want to let people know how they can contact their assembly members, that would be wonderful. If you could drop that in the chat, I would so appreciate it. And we talked about how to eliminate food waste from schools and restaurants, programs that do exist, that donate unused food so it doesn't go to waste. It's also another way to volunteer. Some smaller food pantries do food rescue, and they are always looking for people to go to their local food establishments and pick up I know I've picked up from bagel stores and pizza places locally that benefit our local pantry here in Rye. So there are just so many different ways, and I'm glad we could all share some of them. Some other ideas are dining at a local restaurant that donates a portion of sales to meal delivery programs, supporting legislature, which we discussed, serving on a school board that works to expand access to meals for students during summers and holidays, reading an article online about food deserts in your community. If we look at all of these actions separately, they make a difference. But if we look at all these varied actions that are being mentioned right now in the chat and on the screen, think about all that can be accomplished. It really takes everybody showing up in a variety of different ways to make a big impact. And that's how change is accelerated. So thank you all for your ideas and for sharing them with others. As we think about civic engagement and the opportunity to take civic action, we want to acknowledge that there are barriers that exist, making it harder for some people to participate. If we go back around the civic circle, you will see that some of these barriers for participation. I'm going to go quickly through them since we're getting to the end of our time here, but purchase power, not everyone is able to shop at businesses that give back or based on where they live or based on their means. Some people are not able, have trouble voting because they have medical inability to wait online. You could, let your neighbors know about absentee ballots. You could drive them to vote. Service, inability to disrupt income and personal life for your lifestyle. There are just many different ways that could be hindering, and helping someone who wants to be a part of giving back, give back, helping somebody vote. These are picking up donations and delivering them for a neighbor that isn't able to go out. All of these ways are, even if it's not your donation or your vote, helping somebody to do that is being civically engaged. So be mindful of that. What role can you play in eliminating barriers? We're going to go back to the Mentimeter and add some of these to the Mentimeter that you're thinking about. I know some people have put those in the chat, but if you could drop that into the Mentimeter now, what role can you play in eliminating barriers? We have so many privileges, and we can use those privileges to open doors and increase accessibility for others. See a lot of driving people, and it's important communicating and sharing. Spreading awareness. It's important to recognize that these barriers can be overcome with people helping each other. When you become aware of a barrier, especially one that exists for others and not you, your choice about what to do with that empathy is important. Help someone who cannot get to the polls to vote by helping them sign up for a mail-in ballot. Making sure how I choose to volunteer. It is a privilege not to have these barriers. And Dr. King said that with privilege, Dr. King said that people with privilege seldom give up that privilege voluntarily. Think about how we can do better. While it may not be easy, it's important to acknowledge the privilege you do have, and you can translate your privilege into supporting others who may not have the same advantages. And you can be a part of making systems fairer and more equitable for others.
We're now going to take you over to the Volunteer New York website and show you how all the ways you can be civically engaged. We'll show you how to find volunteer opportunities that best fit you and how you can use our website to donate to support our mission and celebrate our 75 years of serving our community. So as you see on the screen, when you're first on our homepage, you can see right there, there's find the volunteer opportunities, and you can search a word, or you can go to the top and scroll down to that find an opportunity. And now we're redirected to this other page. And at the top with the zip code, we're going to put in the New Rochelle zip code because we know there are a couple opportunities there. And we're going to click find. And you see a whole bunch. We're going to narrow it down even more. We're going to put in the word hunger. We're going to look for opportunities like what we spoke about today. So here at the top, a whole bunch of virtual, if you're interested in virtual opportunities. Here we see food pantry opportunities at Hope Community Services. So yeah, we're going to select that one. And let's say you're interested in volunteering on Monday the 27th, but oh no, I see the wait list is available. So yeah, you can sign up for the wait list. But if we see here on the 4th, you can sign up. So we're going to click sign up and then log in, which if you're here on today's webinar, you've likely already made an account. So you would follow those steps to log in and make a username or use the one you already have. But this is how you can sign up for a volunteer opportunity using our site. So if we go back to the search option, I'll show you some other ways that you can search. So maybe it's not about the issue area you care about, but it's more focused on your availability. We'll go to your availability and we'll check off that you're only free on Sundays and Saturdays and Sundays. We'll click those. And we find the search so that we're only seeing opportunities that fit the times that you're available. And now I'm going to show you someone in my group mentioned that they're interested in having their kids volunteer. So a way that we can do that is we have a specific page just for youth and families. So here you can see a bunch of opportunities. They're broken down by the ages, whether they're 13, 14 to 15. And you see the page looks a little bit different of just options that fit for your kid's age. And these are all, again, you can sign up for these opportunities and then you'll be connected with the nonprofit that it'll be serving. So maybe for Marshlands Conservancy, that Fairy House building, which sounds pretty fun. You could sign up for that and then you will be notified by the Marshland Conservancy, or maybe that's through the Westchester Park Foundation. Yep, it is. So you'll be contacted by them regarding the opportunity. We, again, are a connector organization to help you see a whole bunch of opportunities from our volunteers, our nonprofits in our community. So now we're going to go back over to our PowerPoint and we'll talk which civic circle best represents where you'll take action and where you're most interested in exploring. These actions can be what you want to take or areas you want to learn more about. And again, it's on the Mentimeter.
Love
Great.
that people are saying work. It's really an important time to look at so many advantages that you can have to give back through your employers.
Yeah, and volunteer, as our name says. So we're very excited to see a lot of that. A lot of service and donate. These are great. And so now in this next slide, we hope that you'll leave this session inspired by civic engagement and feel empowered by the variety of ways that you can help. We'd love for everybody to take a moment to draft an I will statement. These statements should guide whatever commitment you want to make after you leave this session, big or small. What is your what next? And think about the different civic circles of vote, voice, service, volunteer, donate. I will introduce a friend to a cause I care about. That's great. Maybe this weekend you knew you had to go to the hardware store. So maybe instead of going to a big chain, you'll support your local hardware store. Maybe you'll sign up to donate blood. Volunteer with my friends to speak to youth about healthy relationships. That's great. Advocate for immigrants. Learn more about volunteering and take action. These are great. Continue to volunteer and encourage others to participate. Love it. Teach my kids the power of volunteering. So happy to see all these.
Finding ways to get more engaged with the organizations I volunteer with. Lots of organizations have skills-based needs as well as just hands-on one-time volunteer needs. So those are always a great way to get involved.
I'm gonna quickly snag a photo of all this. So this is great. Awesome. And now I'll send it over to Carrie to close this off.
Well, we thank you all for joining us today. I know that we covered a lot of material. And as you transition back to your weekend, we want to leave you with a couple of takeaways to think about after this session. Most importantly, civic engagement is not one size fits all. The civic circle is power, and that power is not equally accessible. Listening and learning is the foundation of all civic action. To respond in the ways our communities need, we must first listen and understand the root causes and recommended solution. The change starts with you. You have the power to make change. We hope you're inspired to continue on your own civic engagement journey and that you'll use Volunteer New York's website as a resource or the Points of Light affiliate closest to you. We enjoyed seeing so many different ideas and insights that you had to share. Remember that you can always find ways to take action with hundreds of volunteer opportunity and drives on our website. You can follow us on Instagram at VolunteerNY as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. We're here to help. If you don't know where to start and you want to do more, we have you covered. You can connect with our staff to help you find the right fit. On our website, if you go to www.volunteernewyork.org/schedule, you can sign up for a free consultation. We're also dropping in the chat a short survey that we're asking for you to complete just to give us advice on how this worked, anything you'd like to learn about more in the future. And lastly, we will follow up with an email that will share a link to guide you to develop your own personal civic engagement action plan. It will take you through each question to discover different opportunities that match your interests and values and identify up to 3 action steps. We want you to leave with the words of Martin Luther King that we feel are really the essence of the civic circle. We must live together. We are not independent. We are interdependent. We are all involved in a single process. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly, for we are all tied together in a single process. We are all linked in the great chain of humanity. As one man said, that no man is an island entirely of himself. Every man is a piece of a continent and a part of a main. Remember that Dr. King said that everyone can be great because everybody can serve. And we at Volunteer New York wholeheartedly believe in your greatness. With that, I just want to say thank you for spending the time with us and for all of the insight that you added to today's discussion. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the weekend.
So our colleague Jennifer will start breaking us out. Each group will have a Volunteer New York staff member, so they'll be sure to make sure we stay on topic, and we'll help report back any information when we all come together in a few moments.